So, whatever it is that they did when they made the bad karma that they made from playing those games that they played and giving you all of those pills and medicines and drugs and stuff that were the kind of medications that were psychological or psychiatric or all of that stuff, trying to have you psyched out or and all of that stuff. And when you said, you didn't want to do any of that because you did not like the way it made you feel and they wanted you to do it anyway, they were not allowed to do that at that point, Those were violations that they did in bad karma that they made, and it was not a Brandon's fault, because when you were in those apartments and at those places and at those houses, you saw those girls and those people, and they had those cars, something about an Altima, something about the way that word is spelled, with A-L, and a timer or something like that, because, there was a time limit to the game that they were playing, And since I never asked to play those games, there was a picture book, how they want to get rid of those pictures, they would not want you to have a year book, because, when you would have those yearbooks, it would be stuff that they would not want you to see or remember because it would be something about your eyes to where, it would seem like it was red, And then, you saw a girl's eyes and a person's eyes and it seems like they were red. Something about that red in those eyes, in those yearbooks. So, you was told about that family, a bunch of crazy stuff, When they said that some lady called herself Linda and called herself Glenda or something, and that they would try to make men jealous and fight over them. And so you saw the picture in the yearbook and you said, hey, and how did you see the picture in the yearbook? A girl showed you the picture. She said, look at this picture, Brandy. Who do that look like? See, hoodoo that looks like hoodoo, the drugs, the chemicals that they gave us, witchcraft, poison, drugs, a form of magic, the bad kind. Because when you don't like the way it made you feel, those chemicals and the stuff that they gave you, and when she was explaining to me how to learn how to talk, something about a speech class, and she said, hoodoo, that looks like it is. Hoodoo, that looks like it is, And it was like, oh, hoodoo. So that's what they was talking about. That kind of stuff. And then, it's like some girl was with a dude and she kept calling him do, stuff like that. And you know who, and you know what they, talking about what we used to do. And she would always like to say do a lot. Do. That's all she wanted a person to do, those. Something about some turds and some burglars and stuff like that. The bag lady, the signs that they were showing you. All they cared about was getting bags and stuff like that. Talking about some get the bag, cuz, stuff like that. And it was like they wanted you to see what they were saying because they were playing the game and they said according to the game that they were playing, you were supposed to figure it out and they wasn't supposed to tell you, but you was not supposed to figure it out. You were supposed to, do something wrong or bad and make bad karma and be, just as guilty as they are. But, something about the Ultima, something about Al and a timer, the way that word is spelled, Al and Tima, timer, Ultima. And it was a time limit to it. And it was like, he ran out of time, like he was too late. I didn't do what he did, and I didn't do what those other guys did. And, it was like they cheated. That's what they said. They called them cheaters because they cheated. When they played those games and did those traditions, and they said it was a test and life was like chess, and, since I did not do anything wrong, of course, they got mad because, whatever they considered a prize or the best of, or whatever it was, that I was supposed to have, they did not want me to have what I was supposed to have. And they tried to cheat because, since I don't understand or I don't know what it means, they wanted you to do something else, So, you remember they said, you don't deserve her. You're not worthy of her and all of that. And it was like, wait a minute. And then who is? And it was like, who else do you know that did not make any bad karma and did not make any single moms and did not move on to the next one? And then, something about scratching your head at that point, right, Brandon? It was like, well, it doesn't matter how big you are, how much money you have, or it doesn't matter how smart you are, stuff like that. Like, if you don't have that honor, of all of these years not making a single mom, not making a single mother, not moving on to the next one, and you don't have an excuse because she did not look like your wife. The other people that they had children with, the other people that they actually had sex with, and they weren't supposed to do it. And when they actually finished the job, and they did not pull out, and it's too late because it's already done, and everyone knows what they did, they are in no position to say, I am not worthy, because, when the punishment has the master crime and you have to be better than the scribes and the Pharisees, and in order to judge you, Brandon, they have to be better than you. And since they are not, because they can't say that, well, they pulled out every time and said that this is wrong, when it was a person that did not look like their wife or whatever, they said they don't want to do it, and they told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Since they cannot say any of that, and they don't have that honor, and people have families and daughters, and they said the people that wanted to judge me and say I was not worthy, they are not worth it. So, when a girl showed you a yearbook, and no one saw her do it, so they never knowed everything, because you can't be watching Brendan all the time and trying to have a party and have sex with a bunch of different people and still know what I'm doing at the same time, can't be in two places at one time type of situation. So since they wanted to have so much sex and see what other folks was doing and all of that, did you see the picture in the yearbook of Brandon? And did you look at the girl and she was like, who do that look like? The hoodoo that they do and the witchcraft in that house. And I was like, it looks just like you. It looks just like you. Just like me. That type of situation. It was like, when you look at the picture on the screen, Brandon, who do it look like? Just like me. And when you look at the picture in that yearbook, you said, who do it look like? It was like, just like you. And hadn't you heard a girl say it before? She don't even want that body. Because when that lady said her name was Linda, and when that lady said her name was Glenda, and when they said people in that family said they always do that. They always try to claim some association with a Clifford and an Al and, them people or whatever, and try to make somebody fight over them and go crazy over a girl or something like that, and then try to decide which one it is that they get because, they be wanting to keep the best for themselves and give somebody else, the leftovers. And when she said she don't even want that body, because they was like, it was a high school yearbook, wasn't it, a Brandon? And they was like, you see this old game they've been playing? Using the image and the name of a girl and then trying to make people fight each other over her. And then when you actually get her, she not even the girl from the picture or the girl that, that you thought it was or whatever, because, who do it look like? A different person inside of the body or whatever type situation. Possibly some sick person. And it's like they were hurting their own family members. Because, like, if a girl was sick and she needed me in order for her to be alive, and they claimed that they loved her, why would they let her be sick just so that I would not be able to be in a relationship with her? If she was the person, it's crazy, Or why would they, and then how would she have got sick in the first place? What did they do to make her sick? That was the question. They would all be like, well, what did they do to make her sick in the first place? I didn't make her sick, stuff like that. So it's like they did something to their own child because they kept playing with the body and the image, Because if that girl that was in the high school yearbook looked at exactly like the girl, that was showing you the picture, and they was tired of playing games with that body, talking about a body. And then when you seen different girls, over time, I don't know how they was doing it or what they was doing. And when some of the girls that looked at like her looked at sick, and when some of the girls that looked at like her was clean, some of the girls that looked at like her was thick, some of the girls that looked at like her was skinny, some of the girls that looked at like her, said they ain't even want that body or that image or nothing no more. And that since they learned how to do that stuff, well, you said that they said they was going to do different stuff in different bodies in separate places and all of that stuff. And since it was so confusing, and, since, when people are certain ages and all of that type of stuff, and they don't know who is who or where is where or whatever and stuff like that. When they was like, where is their sister or where is their daughter or which one is them? I'm like, with the witches? Well, how do you, if she was your sister, then you would know. If she was your daughter, then when you know? And if she don't want to be part of your family, maybe she don't want to be found. Maybe she don't want you to know. Maybe she don't want you. Those type of situations. It's the way that I was taught, So it's crazy, Because, since stuff was communicated with me, it was like, there is no fight with Brandon, of course, because they was like, none of those guys were supposed to ever challenge me or step up to me in any of those ways, because they was like, if they cannot say that the only girl that they've ever been with, is their wife, or the body or the image of the person claiming to be their wife, and they did not know, what was going on if someone was playing a game, then, it was told to me that they are not worthy of judging me or finding fault with me. Because how can they say, I wouldn't have done any of that with my wife? I wouldn't have done any of that to my wife, unless they can say their wife is the only person that they've ever been with, and whenever it was someone else, a person that did not look like their wife and all of that and all of that, you know how the story goes. Then it's like they are in no position to judge, you know, those types of situations. So it doesn't matter if they call themselves a king or a certain rank or a certain position, because, when it comes to, the sexual relationships in people's sister and mom and daughter, and there was supposed to be no single moms and no, no child left behind and all of that stuff like that, then they weren't supposed to make those children if they were going to leave them behind and all of that stuff like that. And, those rules that they said that if you can't afford to go to a certain place, country, the stuff that you were saying is true. When they said, if you want more than one and all of this stuff, then you have to go to a place where they allowed it. If you wanted more than one, then you would have to go to a place where they practiced it, And if, somebody here was doing something wrong and trying to claim a position that they should not have of authority or power, because I am not, then they would have to explain why they tried to tell people that it should be this way or that way, or that they thought it was wrong, because I never participated in any of those judgments, So, I never chose red. I never chose blue. I don't even know what a Democrat is. I don't even know what a Republican is. I don't know about any of that stuff, Those are just words that people said, about themselves. I don't understand it. Never even voted. So, it was just a violation of people for the bad karma that they made, themselves, because, when different people tried to make someone look bad, when they said she went with him or she went with them or she went with them, it was like, how do you know that the girl that said she went to his house, it was her in that body when she went to that house, just so she could blame the other girl? How do you know when the girl said she went with them, it was her in that body when she went there, just so she can make the other girl look bad? They was like, they gonna use the baddie in front of Brandon and do a bunch of stuff that he don't like, and then he'll be mad at her and won't like her and stuff like that. They were like, how do you know that ain't what they did? They made bad karma. Because I don't trust any of, whatever it is that, game they tried to play. So in those situations, with whatever it is that they did, how they was like, somebody gotta break the cycle, You don't want to keep doing what they did, And what I mean by that, it was like, you don't want to, join in with them as a judge or as a player of those games and sit back and watch the next person, do it or whatever it is and judge them. No. Because, it's like, that's how those people got in trouble. When they showed them other girls and that you can have this or you can have that or you can move on to someone else and be part of the group, when they chose those types of situations and they watched you, Brandon, because they were part of a group. And that is how they made bad karma for themselves, because they said yes when, it's like that Jacob story, 7 years later, August, Women's Day, August 9th, Women's Month, August, something about Laban and a family and girls looking like each other, Rachel and Leah, and being out of time. And, when the house did not win, well, I guess the house doesn't always win, So, when people got used to doing stuff a certain way and wanted to get stuck in their waist or their ways or something about touching their waist or something, whatever they said, I don't understand it. Well, if the house did not win because my name is not Jacob, and I say no, there is no trade-off. I'm not a trader. This is America, And there's people that said they're sick of it, literally sick of it. Whatever these guys and these people did, it was like these girls and these women would not have been mad in the first place unless some man went around knowing that he was not going to marry them, knowing that he was not going to, be faithful to them, and making them into a single mom and using them, and she did not look like his wife and she was not part of the game, those type of situations. Innocent victims, it's wrong. They say, I'm one of those people. Brandon is one of those people. They never told him that, they're going to use different people in different images and stuff like that. And then they're going to keep saying, it's your wife, it's your wife, it's your wife. But then after a while, you're going to realize and notice that, wait a minute, something seems crazy about this. Because why would one girl be saying she loved me and another girl be saying that she hate me? And if I am a Brandon and I don't have any victims or any of this stuff, then somebody been using an image or a body or something like that, playing games, and abusing me. It's like I have been a victim of an abusive relationship from a family, So, they said it was something about the little brothers and stuff. They tried to size it up or something. They wanted you and they little brothers and stuff like that. They was talking about the little brothers fight the little, do you remember what they said about the picture? They was like, a lady said her name was Linda and a lady said her name was Glenda, and they was going to have people fighting over them. Stuff like that. And then she wanted her son and his son and their sons and the little brothers and stuff like that to compete against each other and stuff like that. You said no, Brandon. I said no. Whatever mess they little brother got theyself into is their fault. Whatever mess, bad karma they made is their fault, not mine. I don't want to fight their little brothers over a girl, over anyone, It's crazy. Because if a girl wanted me to fight their little brothers and she was going to pick the person that win the fight and stuff like that, I've said this already before, that she can have her little brother and her little brother can have her, because I don't want to participate in none of this stuff anyway. Because if it's her body and it's her choice, and that's what she chose to do, she chose to do this stuff like that, It's not my bad karma if she chose to do whatever it is she chose to do. You know? So, it's crazy because some of them girls, a lot of them girls said they little brother not worth it. And it's crazy. It's not my fault if somebody, little brother, mad that he can't be with his sister or his mom or his auntie or, his own family member that he want to have sex with because of some weird, crazy tradition that they practice that I don't. No. You know? So, I'm not choosing red. I'm not choosing blue. Because I don't want to make red feel bad. And I don't want to make blue feel bad. So, I don't want to make any color feel bad, The truth is just the truth, And so, it's crazy, because I am married, of course, and, being married, a person that wants me playing those games and stuff, is not my wife, because a marriage is not supposed to be a game or any of that stuff, And it's weird because, those girls and those energies and identities, one of them seemed like they was on drugs and on crack and stuff like that and would be making excuses, to do stuff with other people like drugs. And one of them seemed like a prostitute or something like that, like they would be doing stuff like I don't really understand, like one of those girls, seemed like, and it's not about my wife, of course, because I do not think bad thoughts about my wife. That is why I am saying one of those girls or those people that did this stuff, one of them had like red eyes or something like that. He was crazy. And one of them had like cat eyes and stuff like that. And, something seemed like it must have been wrong with my eyes because I'm like, wait a minute. How your eyes look like that? How you had red eyes one day and then cat eyes the next day and then, I was in the apartment. I was like, it was some panties. I was like, how you fit in the panties? One day, but one day you didn't fit in the panties. And it was like, the same week, of course. And I was like, bodies and shapes and sizes do not change like that. You can't be too big to fit inside the panties one day and then run and go get another girl that look exactly like you and then all of a sudden fit inside the panties the next day. And sometime when you look back on it, like they say, you might see something you didn't see before and be like, something seems weird and wrong and different, And then how some people would want to do it in the bed and then some people would not want to do it in the bed because something about the marriage bed and stuff. And how some people would want to do it in the bed and do it in the car and on the car. And some people would not want to do it in the bed and not do it in the car. And then how some people, when they would do it, they would want to cover on top of the car and they wouldn't want anyone to see them. And when some people would do it, they would want people to see them. Different types of characters and energy. And so, that picture that you saw in the yearbook when you was like, wait a minute. They was using the image of a body of a girl ever since their mom was in high school and they intentionally would start fights with people using that body and that image or something similar and something about, you remember when you was at the dollar store that day? And you saw them girls at the dollar store. One of them came up and was yelling at you and being mean to you. When you looked across the street, you saw like two other girls that looked the same way. And it's like they tried to run back in the door real quick. You know, it was a story about that before because, you know, you had saw that girl up there at that park when you had the Ericsson phone, you know. And it's crazy because, you know, they said one of them tried to say she had Ericsson, that dude that hit your car. And she gave her number to, and he was at the house, and she liked it him, you know, some fake Drake looking dude or whatever, you know. And they was like, you know, it was something about a re and something about Bessemer or something like that. And she tried to hide and stuff like that. And then, you know, she liked it some fake Drake looking dude or whatever. And, you know, you saw him, right? When you was at the hotels and stuff like that, you know, it would always be some fake Drake looking dude and some re girl, you know, and she'll be saying she wanted him. And I did not, you know. I never wanted to be a part of that fake Drake mess with a re and stuff like that. Whatever they was doing, you know. Because, you know, I don't even know what those words mean, but, you know, they was talking about some fake Drake mess or whatever. And, you know, you saw them dudes, you know, at the hotels and at those places, and then with the music and with the songs and the channeling and stuff like that, you know, you don't want to be part of that stuff, is what I was told. And I'm like, exactly. I do not want to be part of that fake Drake, Reed, whatever stuff or whatever. And it was like, you know, you seen it on the internet and on Facebook and stuff too, didn't it, Brandy? She said that she was in love with those fake Drake type people and kept bragging on them and stuff like that. And so they was like, you know, she was the one that sold out and was part of the industry and stuff like that. So, you know, make that real clear for her. For that re girl or whatever is what she called herself and stuff like that. She tried to get you connected with those fake Drake people and stuff like that. And then when you said no, she tried to not want to have nothing to do with it no more and try to act like she loved you and like you and all of that stuff. And, you know, as a friend, like she cared about you. She wasn't saying it when she was praising them fake Drake people and promoting them and stuff like that. It was never about you, Brandon. That Judas kiss on the cheek on the porch and stuff like that. She know what she did is what they told me. And all of that. It wasn't just Tori mad because she couldn't get her way, you know. And you saw her, you know, in them other baddies up there at the grocery store walking around showing her panties in the street or whatever. It was her and Keisha or whatever. She is not worth it. They is not worth it. And none of the other girls and none of the other guys and none of the other people in the family, they not finna let them girls ruin their family. Because when other people got children and other people got families and them people got to be famous and play their game long enough, you know, my tour ever need to play his game and stuff like that. They've had enough. To make sure they get enough. Enough is enough, you know. So they know about the re stuff and the fake Drake stuff and the music and the songs and the channeling and them getting mad because they saying that they inspired you and they sent you that energy to make those songs and they gave you those ideas and stuff and they was the ones that, you know, talking about something they was helping you the whole time. Helping you do what? Trying to help you sign a deal with them and stuff like that so that they could claim that you were their artist as their property? The answer is no. They tried to trick you, Brandon. That's what they, you know, no, that's what they told me, you know. And it was her, you know, because, you know, she was the one. She was the one, you know, all of that fake Drake stuff. She was the one talking about some, you know, talking about those Robert people and all of those industry people, talking about in the song, talking about some danger boy, you know, you was supposed to like that stuff, you know. All of it was just witchcraft. They was trying, you know, then they used your samples and your beats in the music and stuff like that. And, you know, you didn't charge them for it. You didn't say they stole it from you and that they should have to pay for music and stuff like that. So, you know, she know what she did. They know what they did. They tried to trick you, you know. And they lied about their age. You don't know how old that girl is or whatever it is, you know. any of them what they did, you know. Because if they were just using bodies and images and stuff like that or whatever, you don't know what they was doing, you know. And it's weird, isn't it? You know. But see, you know the thing about it that they can't lie about though. They still don't got no excuse, Brandy. Because when they were all underage children, and you know, using someone else's body and image and name, it's still the same crime. So, you know, all that talk about entities and witches and ghosts and stuff, they still guilty for what they did, is what I was told. Because it was a child's body. You know, that way. It was a child's violation. You know, that way. Because if I was a teenager when I went over there and they sent me to juvenile facilities for children, and I was older, you know, than those people that were there, they must have violated a child's body in order to be using a child's body in a child's image. So, yeah, it was violation of a child's body. And if they use those bodies and images for sex and stuff like that, yeah, it was a sex crime. There's no way around it. And that's why the answer is no. And that's why some of those girls said they didn't want them bodies or them images anymore after those other people used and abused them and stuff like that. And was like, oh, you can have it back now. You know, after they germed it all up and did stuff like that. No, you know, that's what a lot of them people said. They know what they did. And now they don't know what to do. Because if people don't want to go back to them bodies, and if people don't want to go back to them images, if people don't want to go back to none of that stuff, and they know who did it, you know, they made a big mess out of the situation. And when there's, you know, different girls, it was like, who do they think they is, you know? They did all of this stuff to us. And if it really was a religion and stuff, and they said, they was like, how many girls said that they wanted Brandon? You know? They didn't want them other people and stuff like that. And even if they couldn't have sex with him, you know, how you alone in the room, you know, stuff like that. And all that communication and shit. They said, well, then why they couldn't have just, you know, just been at his house with him? And, you know, the same way nobody ain't been touching you. The same way ain't nobody been doing nothing bad to you. If it was about gifts and talents and stuff like that and being nice and friendly, then why they couldn't have just made music and did that stuff with a Brandon without being part of their other group? Since it's obvious that no contact is necessary. Because if they don't have to be here touching me, if they don't have to be here in a body, if they don't have to be here doing any of this stuff with me and can still communicate with me and they know how to use their own abilities, then, you know, and you see how your voice sound when you talk, Brandon, and how it sound very familiar, like different people that you've been around. And, you know, so when they was making that music and using them voices and stuff like that, they was using them girls and they was using them church and they was using them people. Because why you got so many voices, Brandon? And they gave you these voices to use, you know. And notice how you don't use them. You don't ask for money. You don't ask for, you know, praise. You didn't ask for recognition. You just tell the truth. But, you know, they was charging people and asking people, you know, to spend the money on what they was doing. And it wasn't even them doing it, you know. They want to say it wasn't you doing it and it was the channeling that was going to you, Brandon. But they said it wasn't them doing it and it was the channeling that they stole when they did it. From child abuse and using witchcraft and magic, you know, that way. Because, yeah, Brandon is married, of course, and none of the girls and none of the guys, they said they not finna let these people ruin it for them. They are not worth it. They are not worth it, you know. You know, that's what I was told, you know. It was like somebody ruined their own family life. They ruined their own church and life by wanting to be a star. Now, who wanted to be a star? Not me. Talking about it's got to be they child and they son, and it's got to be like this, and it got to be like that, and it's got to be and this, and then and the people say no, they don't even like them. That situation, and it's crazy. It's like they had their fun. They got to do what they did. All these years they did that stuff, using Brandon, playing the game with him. How many people that they said he was going to do this and he was going to do that and be like, oh, he ain't got no other baby mamas and stuff like that. Oh, well, he didn't do it. Well, I don't know what went wrong. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Maybe Brendan didn't do anything wrong. Crazy. So they got to explain why they did. Mm-hmm. And like, you was the only one that they did this stuff to, Brendan. You was the only one that they didn't tell anything about it, and they did this stuff too. So like, it's wrong what they did, It's wrong, that's what they said, They'll be like, who are they? Who are they? The people that told me this stuff, because they was like, who are they? Who are they with? So he could tell you their name, and then you could pretend to be them. The same game. Oh, all of that mess over with. Because if he said it was George, then you'll pretend to be George. If he said it was Brad, then you'll pretend to be Brad. So it's not about names at this point. It's about the truth. That's the way it was explained to me. When they wanted everything mixed up so much, if they don't know who is who and where is where and all of that, they tried so hard to make Brendan go crazy that they made themselves go crazy. It's like karma, like when something backfired on them. They dug a ditch for somebody else and then they done fell in the ditch themselves or whatever, trying to figure out what to do. They wanted Brendan figuring out what to do so bad and trying to figure out what to do. They wanted him crying and whining over a girl and all of that stuff, They wanted him going looking for one of the sisters. Because the girl's mad. They like, yeah, they sisters, Because at the end of the day, when it's a family and it's children and stuff like that, and, it's not worth their soul to keep playing these games. They were like, what? This is crazy what they did. Brandon ain't nowhere looking for no sister. He ain't looking for the little sister, the big sister, the cousin. He ain't looking for a prostitute or none of that stuff. It was like, those people were just wrong. Somebody was mad because when it was their husband or their boyfriend or the person that they like, he actually went and looked for another girl. He actually went for the little sister. He actually went for the older sister. He actually went for something that was thicker or older or had more money. Or he actually went for something that was younger and easier to control and manage, wanting to be a manager and stuff like that. But since I didn't do it and, it was a time limit to it, even though you didn't agree to it. When they said Laban told Jacob to work for 7 years, well, you know how this story went. It was the same thing then. After the 7 years, he didn't want to give it up. That type of stuff. Since I never even made any of those deals, it was never supposed to be no 7 years, and it was never supposed to be any interference or any of that mess that they did in the first place. Because I never asked or made an agreement for any 7 years of switching or swapping. So they was like, the character, right? So whatever they been doing with their image or with their body, the information you needed. One of them people act like they on drugs and like they on ice and crystal meth and heroin. They up all night stuff or whatever, can't get no sleep or whatever and tried to play it off or whatever. So, how they was like, you don't need no phone and stuff like that because, he know too much. If you up all night on the phone, then, crystal meth and ice or whatever, he'll feel like you the one that's on drugs and stuff. And it's wrong for them to do that anyway because if she is the one that's on drugs, why would they try to deceive me or hide it from me that she's just some junkie or some crackhead or some dope head or some meth head? So that's crazy for them to do that right there. Come on, you don't need no phone, It ain't worth it or whatever. It is not worth it. It is not worth it. They said they don't care if it's their sister, if it's their brother, if it's their mama, if it's their daddy, if it's their own child. They care about their own soul. And since I am evidence that it did not take all of that, what they did, you know, and it was their tradition and not mine, and I never agreed to it. So it's really no way to apply karma against me because I did not make any bad karma. You know, a lot of those people say, hey, the truth is the truth, you know. Like, they tried it, they did stuff, you know. You know, some of the people said, she was that girl, and she was that girl, and she was that girl. And some of the girls that gave me this message said she was that girl. Yeah, she, you know, participated in it and experienced what it was that was going on, and it felt bad and it felt wrong, is what she said, you know. And what she mean by it felt bad and it felt wrong, you know. That, you know, knowing that Brandon is different and he didn't really want to do any of that stuff. Well, whatever they family and them people told him to do was wrong, because it's like they was trying to steal his energy and his, you know, nobody really knows what it is or how it works the way that it works, but, you know, they weren't supposed to be doing none of that stuff, you know. It was supposed to just be one girl and her body and her image, you know, and if it was another girl or something like that or whatever, she was supposed to be in her own body and in her own image, you know. We know however they, you know, it wasn't supposed to be them pretending to be each other using the same body or making other girls that look the same way, you know. Ever since the mom was in high school in a yearbook picture, you know, talking about you can't resist. Everybody goes for, so you know, you was in apartments and the dudes was telling you, hey, you know, they used to be with that girl and stuff. She was like, no, and they was like, but you know, they used to smoke and drink and do stuff together. It was like his girlfriend don't even smoke and stuff. They was like, see, and that's what the problem is when you look back on it. He was with one of them girls that looked like that, you know, probably the one that smoke and drink, you know, the stuff that your girlfriend does not do. And he thought that you was, you know, I don't know what he thought or whatever, but, you know, that's when stuff got weird, didn't it? And, you know, when they was going back and forth from the apartments and stuff and all this and all of that, and, you know, it was a big mess, and then that's when you left, right? Because, you know, you left with the girl, and you don't even know which one it was, because, you know, dealing with witches and whatever it was that they was doing. When they made a man, see, you were supposed to get mad according to them and wanted to fight over all of this stuff, but since you're not that type of guy, you know, they are just wrong. So, you know, somebody is like, you know, wanted them to say that they were wrong because, you know, they not able to do it. They say, I mean, they could, but, you know, something wrong with them. And, you know, one of the girls, you know, could not talk, you know. It was something wrong with the way that, you know how they was making children and stuff like that, and the kind of sex they was having. One of the girls, it was something wrong with her and she could not really talk, you know. And a lot of the people would be mad about that situation because, you know, some of the people was like, what if he liked the one that cannot even talk and she can't even really speak and stuff like that, you know. It's like they wanted to choose for you which one it was, and it's crazy because, you know, it was only supposed to be one because they never told you, okay, it's gonna be this many girls and they gonna all look similar, and, you know, after a certain amount of time you will pick with the one that you really want. Nobody told you any of that mess. But then all of a sudden it seemed like that's the kind of stuff that they was doing. Oh, I got to go to the store right quick or whatever. And it's somebody else when they come back. But you didn't know, Brandon. Oh, I got to go to the school or down the street right quick. And when they come back, it's somebody else. But you didn't know, Brandon. You know, stuff like that. What kind of crazy mess is that what they done did? And what about the girls that like, so they going to try to do that with my son? And they going to try to do that, you know, with my brother, and they gonna try to do that with our dad, you know, some of the children and stuff like that. People want this stuff to stop that they've been doing, you know, because it's wrong. It is wrong. And there are girls and guys and families and people that say, you know what? It doesn't matter what color or where a person came from or whatever they did. If they have been participating in this kind of mess and all of this stuff and ruining families and stuff for no reason, you know, some people said they believe in me and my God, and, you know, on the last day, they want evidence for themselves that they did stuff for me and for themselves and their own children and their family to make sure that, you know, people stop playing these games, you know, that they was doing, using different badges and stuff like that or whatever, you know, and it was not self-defense. You know, that's the weird, different part about it, because they was like, some of the people said, you know, they studied karma and dharma, and when people did that stuff to them, if it's self-defense and they using self-defense, you know, and they doing to the other people what they did to them, and a person used a whole bunch of different badges and different badges to do stuff, and they was like, okay, well then they gonna use a bunch of different badges to do stuff. Since I did not do any of that stuff, they was like, yeah, it's just wrong what they did to me, and they made bad karma, so they can't really accuse me of any of that, you know. So, you know. And it was males and females. They want you to know that, Brandon. It was males and females that did that stuff, and it was wrong. And like, what you mean it was males and females? It was people that said this. They wanted their son and their daughter and their family, you know, to have a piece of the whatever it was, you know, that they call it that they was doing. You know, like that tourist stuff and all of this stuff or whatever. Like, acting like he got to get, like, tourist got to get some, Aaron got to get some, you know. And what about Willie and all of that stuff, you know. You know that mess that they did? And like, they was all wrong for what they did. Talking what about Tony and stuff like that. All of that stuff. What they did. And I said no. And don't nobody even know what they did, because like, it's so foul and wrong what they did. It's like, it ain't like a dude ever came and said, hey, I'm using April body and your wife body, and it's really just a dude or whatever, because they just trying to see what it feels like to do it to you, Brendan. So, you know, it was like, you know, if any of that stuff happened, whatever, you know, they know that they wrong for what they did, Brendan. Because after what happened to your butt when you was 5 years old and talking about using a body, there is a limit. None of that no limit stuff or whatever. Because don't nobody want them doing it to their child and stuff like that. And you made it real clear you don't want any boy inseminations and none of that stuff and all of that. You know. They know it is wrong. You know. So somebody is communicating. Somebody has evidence. It's not our fault and it's not Brandon's fault. The people that did not communicate and did not, you know, do what it was, you know, that they were supposed to do. So, you know, it was some moms and stuff like that, you know, because, you know, them family, you know, they were talking about somebody, Jamel mom was mad and all of that stuff and all of that. And they were talking about you was supposed to be with him and them and, you know, all of that stuff. You know, when you was around them people, you know, You know what they call themselves, your cousins and your family members and stuff like that. And they were like, but what about my child? And what about my daughter and stuff? You know, they all tried to get some, Brandon. Just put it that way. They all tried to get some, you know. They all tried to pretend that they all, you know, tried to want their child, you know, to be the star. And I didn't even want to be a star, you know. But what about Jamel? And what about, you know, Jarvis and Travis and, you know, those type of names. But my child, you know. But what about, but, you know, it ain't even like that no more, you know, because, you know, even those people that did it, they were like, you know what, it's not worth it. They child wasn't worth it. This game wasn't worth it. Or Brendan is right. He telling the truth or whatever, you know. I mean, they already had money. They already had made whatever deals that they had made. They already, you know, had so-called more than me, you know, watching me, laughing at me, talking bad about me or whatever, trying to make me look like a bad person. It was like, it was like, you know, they was how to say, what's the point? It was no point of even doing what they did. You know, they was already claiming that they was rich and famous in Hollywood and stuff like that. And I didn't even have a car or none of that stuff or whatever. You know, some of the girls went with them and it was like, it wasn't worth it. Some of the, you know, the parents and the family members or whatever, you know, wanted what was best for their child. And they was like, at the end of the day, you know, it wasn't worth it. They shouldn't have did it. They was being selfish. They was being wrong, you know, and all of that bad karma that they made. And I did not, you know, some of the people was like, you know, it's wrong that they did this stuff, you know. Because since there is a way of behaving the way that I have behaved all of these 38 years and didn't make bad karma, some of the people like, you know, if they would have taught their children and stuff or whatever instead of trying to teach them to compete with each other and stuff like that, then it's no excuse for what they did. So, you know, it was communicated that, you know, what Brendan said, what he said, you know, what I said, that Brendan did not want the children to suffer. Brendan did not want the children to get in trouble for what those people taught them and for what those people taught me. You know, the bad stuff that they taught me, the bad stuff that they taught them, you know, when they was talking about get to the root of the problem. You know, whether somebody call themselves, you know, whatever, the owner of a record label, you know, whether it was in New Orleans or Louisiana or Chicago or California or Atlanta or, you know, anywhere. You know, those guys that told the children to be shooters and all of that stuff like that. And then they would give them jobs at their record label in California. Like, those children, you know, would have to have evidence that they, you know, did not want to do any of this stuff and that they told on those guys telling the truth. Because I'm not those Aaron type of people, you know. I would never tell anyone to do anything bad to anyone. Because, you know, that was the trick, you know. Those Aaron people wanted you to get in trouble like them, according to the Bible. They wanted you to tell them to do bad stuff to each other and to hurt each other for making you mad, right, Brandon? But since you're not going to say any of that, Aaron ruined his own life. You know what the Bible said about telling people to do stuff to each other and to make them mad and trying to predict what you was going to do. And all he did was get himself in trouble. Because Brendan did not tell anyone to do anything bad to anyone. You know, that way. Whether it was your sister or your brother or your mom or your dad, all of that and all of that. You know, those situations. Because I'm not the leader of an army or a group or a troop of people or a war. Those girls and those guys say that they made bad karma and they're mad at each other, and it's not because of me, because I did not make any bad karma. It's because of what they told them. So, you know, I just wanted to make that real clear or whatever, you know. So, you know, I love my wife. I love whatever children or family that I have, no matter what color you are. you know? And I am not anyone's enemy, and I am not suicidal, and I am not a threat to myself or others, you know? And they need to stop these games.